Okay, so always saying people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs that we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video as there is a bonus pair there for you in store. We'll quickly go through my trades for the week first, take a look at the DXY, and then go through the pairs we'll analyze later. So if there is a particular pair you do want to skip ahead to, feel free to use the timestamps below. But I had one new position this week, which was on silver, which was, I'm pretty sure, the bonus pair for last week. So I was looking for the pullback, didn't quite see the pullback I was after. We had the resistance level here at 32.3, 32.4, which I was looking for the retest of. Didn't quite see price get there. However, it did look like price was respecting this high pretty well. I entered on 8-hour time frame, which is not time frame I normally use, but it encompassed the price action pretty well. As you can see, prior resistance, tapped it a couple of times, broke above, retest. I really like the wick to the downside here, really piercing wick through that zone. Then we had a really strong recovery and close above that. And that was my entry candle. Since then, price has taken up the highs here, so I have gone to break even. And my target's around 35, just above the swing high there. So I'm looking for a little bit more upside there for silver. Gold's looking pretty bullish. I expect them both to kind of drag along together. Everything is pointing up on the higher time frames as well, so a lot of confidence went into the trade. But yeah, looking okay, and let's see if we can get some more upside. Euro yen, I did close this position pretty much at the start of the week. It wasn't moving too well. It looked like we're going to get some yen weakness in the market, and I'm looking for predominantly yen strength. And we have seen a little bit of yen weakness. In fairness, we did break back above the trend line, which was not ideal either. I do think Euro yen is still on a downward trajectory. I'm still looking for this wick low to be taken out after the big move there in July. I'm still looking for that wick low to be taken out. And I'm still looking for a price to probably form a lower high around this area. I just want to see that momentum kick back in again. There's a bit of a counter trend line on the 4H. Perhaps if we can break through that, that will be the signal to really get the ball rolling. We're back above the higher time frame trend line on the daily chart at that point as well. And perhaps we do see the continuation. So Euro yen shorts still look pretty good. I'm actually focusing on a different yen pair right now, which we'll get to later in the video. And of course, Aussie CHF, I've just been trading stops with this one. Again, long-term target back at the wick low. Looks like momentum's kicking back in. Really nice wicks on the daily chart. As you can see there, piercing to the upside. Looks like some price support over here on the left has acted as resistance pretty well. So hopefully now we can see price drop through the low here, and then I'll continue to trail the stops. My stop loss is trailed up there at the moment. I probably will trail it above the highs here, just being a bit more aggressive, hoping that momentum can really kick on. And yeah, we'll see how that position goes. So that's kind of where my trading is at the moment. We'll take a look at the dollar before we go to Euro USD. So dollar, I'm still pretty much bearish on as a whole. I did say I'm favoring a bit of retracement, and we have seen that. Although I do still think we can go a little bit higher, 105.5. However, if price does come back into resistance here at 104.6 and respect that, then I think that would be a nice place for a short. If we can come there, form a double top, see some strong rejections, then I would be looking at selling at that high, because there's a lot of momentum in the market. And the move we've seen to the upside is very, very corrective. So I do think eventually we will continue to fall. Not like we've kind of really pushed up hard. It's been a very slow move after we formed the double bottom here. So I do think dollar is likely to continue lower. Now it's just about picking the areas where we're going to short from. At the moment, 104.6 has held pretty well. Strong move down. If we can get there again and confirm that as resistance again, I do think that'll be a nice place for a short. If not, then we do have 105.5, and also I've marked on 106.3. We'll call that as some really nice areas to short from. But again, the plan very much is just waiting for price to correct, form that lower high, and get into some shorts for dollar. So for Euro USD, it's pretty much the exact opposite. So again, if I drop to the 4-hour chart, you can see we've created that kind of same level of support, really corrected move to the downside, which tells me that this is most likely just a pullback for price to push back to the highs eventually. So again, if Euro can come back, respect that low very well, I think that'll be a really nice place for some entries, stops below the low, and taking advantage of a swing back to the high. If Euro decides to pull deeper, which I'm here for as well, I really like the level here, and I really like the level here. We both broke through those levels with a lot of momentum and never came back for the retest. So If we do come back for the retest, it'll be a first test of that level, which normally does give us a good bounce. And we're coming back into some nice fib areas, 0.5, 0.618, 0.786 as well potentially. So those would be my areas in preference if Euro can get there. But just because there's so much momentum in the market from that prior bullish leg, I feel like we probably won't get there. We might just confirm support here and continue. So we'll keep a look at all three levels, to be honest. Just staying on our toes, being reactive, not trying to predict the market too much, and just looking what the market's going to do next, then using that to our advantage. But those are the areas I'll be looking to get involved with. So first level is around 1.07495. Second level, we've got 1.06 roughly, and third level 1.05. So that'll be the plan next week for Euro USD. Okay, so next up we've got USD JPY. So I've been looking for a bigger pullback for this one, but it looks like yen strength is coming back into the market. And we've seen a pretty strong reaction in the lower time frames for dollar yen. I've been keeping a close eye on this counter trend line, and it looks like it's about to break. It hasn't really broken yet, but it looks like it's about to, especially if the yen continues to gain strength. So I have been looking at bigger pullback. I was talking about the 0.5 on the fib there. Doesn't look like we're quite getting there. The move to the upside has been very corrective as well. And we are respecting some resistance on the higher time frames. If I scoot to the left, you can see big rejection over there. They give us a really, really big move. We tapped into it again. Excuse me. We tapped into it again there. Another big rejection. Briefly has support there as well. Hasn't really been obeyed as support resistance since then. However, we are coming back into that area. We see a nice bearish engulfing on the daily chart. If momentum does continue through the trend line break, I do think we can at least see a push back into the low here. Again, long-term targets for myself are back down at 141. So I still do see a lot more downside for dollar yen, but a nice counter trend line break. I would expect to see price continue to swing at least back into the low at 147. So you can wait to take the breakout, as in wait for candle close below, or you can look for some minor breaking retests. There are some levels here you can probably scale to the lower time frames, hourly, 30-minute, and look for the retest of if you don't want to take the breakout. But either way, a break of that trend line, I'm looking at push back to the low. Of course, if you continue to respect the trend line and push up, then I'll hold off. Perhaps we are coming back to the 0.5 before we do see a continuation. So keep that in mind. But a strong break of that low of that trend line around 149.6. I'm expecting a push back into 147, and that'll be the plan next week for dollar yen. Okay, so over to dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, I've been looking for sells for this one, and I'm still long-term bearish because we have come up to that massive weekly level, and I do expect us to eventually reverse from here. As you can see, two really big reactions from that area, and we're there a third time. So it's going to take a lot of energy for us to break through. Not saying we can't, but I do think we can see a little bit of retracement, especially with this move here. Market looks pretty overextended to me, so I think we can have a bit of retracement. However, we are really respecting support very, very well here. I'm taking this level across. This is a bit of a fake out. We did break below, but we shot straight back above. And since then, we've tested level 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and all have been solid rejections. So I'm expecting dollar CAD to see a bit of upside here, and then we can start to look to sell the market. I'm still pretty bearish and just waiting to short. I'm not really so interested in the buys. I'm still pretty bearish on the USD, so I'm mainly just looking to attack on dollar shorts really. So what I'm waiting for is either another push to the upside to go and test 1.45 again, and just basically take advantage of the range. Shorts up at that level, stops above the high, targets back to where we came from. Looks like a solid trade. Or if we can see the break of that support next week, that would be great. Pullbacks, retest, then looking for a lower high, and of course that looks like a nice opportunity to me as well. And I'm looking for a push back into the 1.4 area. We've got a solid level on the daily chart. So if I highlight that area, drag it across just around the 1.4, big psychological level for dollar CAD as well. I would expect price to eventually go and hit that area. So yeah, still pretty bearish in dollar CAD, but don't really have a bearish setup to trade just yet. So I need price to pull back into resistance or break through support and then we can look for some retests. So that'll be the plan next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so next up we got euro pound. So euro pound I'm still pretty bullish on, looking for a push back into 0.85. If we scoot to the weekly chart, you can see price is respecting a pretty strong level of support. We had a really big move to the upside last time we were at this price. We have since then come back to test it a couple times. Once over here, strong reaction. Second time over here, another strong reaction. So it looks like price is forming a bit of a bottom, and we do have a pretty big level here at 0.85, which I do think price can make its way towards. So I'm looking at the lower time frames. We've had a really strong move on the daily chart since we did tap into that level, and we've had a really corrective move back down. So what I'm looking at is a impulse for a correction, for potentially another impulse to the upside. We have pulled back into a nice area around 0.833, and we're starting to see some really strong rejections and really strong bullish candles as well. You can see momentum's coming back into the market. If we go to the daily chart, you can see the wicks there into the 0.618, and we are seeing a strong shift in momentum. So I do like the entries here. Stop loss might be a little bit big if you're looking for a 4-hour entry in relation to the move, because you're probably looking at maybe less than a 1 to 2 back into the high, which is nothing wrong with that, especially if you're looking to target 0.85, which is just above. But I probably would look to secure some gains at the high here. Euro pound is quite a choppy pair, so I wouldn't be so optimistic with the longer term targets, because there's a good possibility that it does respect resistance and come back down. But what I can see is that euro pound is respecting this level well. You can either look for entries on that candle, or you could wait for price to come back and retest it, potentially get a better entry and a better stop loss, and capitalize on the same move. But as long as this 0.833 level can hold, we see price continue to respect that area. I'm looking for a swing back into resistance next week at 0.844. So that's the plan next week for euro pound. Okay, so next up we've got Aussie dollar. So I'm still pretty bearish with this one, looking for a move back down. I am bearish on USD, but I'm struggling to see buying opportunities here for Aussie dollar, at least good ones anyway, for a swing position. I will be looking at buys for Aussie dollar if we can clear the high, which is this swing high here at 0.64, because at that point we've kind of broken out of this consolidation. We've gone from having a pretty bearish swing to a consolidation to a very strong bullish breakout, then the pullbacks, and I would expect a bit of an uptrend to form. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the buys. In terms of the sells right now, if price doesn't break through the high and break through that resistance level, then I do think we are in store for a bit of a move to the downside, perhaps back into support. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, all we're doing right now is kind of just consolidating in this box here. So kind of waiting for price to clear the range, and then looking for some breakout opportunities, or waiting for some retest. Depends what you're looking for. I'm always looking for retests in terms of my trading. But of course, with retests, you sometimes miss the move because sometimes you don't get a retest. So breakout entries can be very useful as well. It's just you have to watch out for fake outs as well. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at price coming back to 0.612, which is the support down here. Or you could probably target the low here. Of course, a bit more of a conservative target, but makes a lot of sense. And price might find support there as well. So that would be at least a good place to at least manage the trade, secure a partial or trailer stop. But I do think we can go and hit the support level. Then potentially we might turn around. But yeah, Aussie dollar looking for a move down, clear rejections of the high, not really seeing much bullish momentum. If we clear the low here at 0.626, expecting push into the 0.62 area and 0.613 shortly afterwards. Okay, so over to New Zealand CAD. So I'm still pretty bearish on this one, looking for a swing back into daily support down here at 0.795. We've had this lovely bearish leg. We've broken through some structure. Now I'm looking at a lower high for potentially a lower low. And judging the weekly chart, we've seen some nice wicks to the upside as well, and nice momentum starting to come back into the market as we respect that resistance. So the plan very much is looking for a pullback, a low high to form, and more downside. I did say coming to the week, I was either looking for a test of the high again, so if price was to continue double top, then push down, I will look for a short, or on the retest of this area. Now the pullback hasn't been big enough for me to find an entry of my liking, so I'm kind of hoping we push the downside a little bit further, then give us a slightly bigger pullback, something where the market is a bit more stretched before I do jump into the market. And then, yeah, expecting a swing back down to lows at 0.795. Of course, there are some areas where you could consider to take some partials or close the trade completely, coming back into some of these lows here on the 4-hour chart. So that makes a load of sense. But I do think price can go a little bit further. I'll probably be locking some gains as well, but definitely will be looking to hold some positions to run. But yeah, a retest of 0.822, if you can push down a bit further, retest, that's something I'll be looking for. And eventually a push back down to 795 would be my targets for this position. So very, very bearish on New Zealand CAD. Looking for us to start the top out now and continue lower. As long as we can respect 0.822, I'll be happy with the shorts and looking for that bearish swing. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So overall, still bullish on this one. We had a nice test of the prior daily high this week. So as we can see on the left, nice pullback from that area. Since then, we've broken through. We actually broke below it, broke above it, so we weren't really respecting it too well. But this week, we did spike into it really nicely on Wednesday, and that did give us a nice swing to the upside. However, we've come into some resistance. We look like we're a bit stuck. There could be some nice breakout opportunities on the buy, but you are met with some resistance supply pretty swiftly afterwards. So there's not a lot of room to trade there unless you scale right down to some intraday time frames. Then you might find some opportunities. But what I'm looking for is to see if we can come back and retest that daily level and potentially look for another swing. I'm actually still interested with this level here at 2.22 roughly, which is that prior consolidation we had. Price stayed there for a few weeks, or a couple of weeks at least, and then broke to the upside pretty swiftly, and we never really had a test of that. So I've still been looking for a long there. Potentially we might see that pullback happen. It looks a bit unlikely at the moment, but definitely still an area which I am interested in. So since we are now starting to respect that level again, if we can get there for a retest, I think that would be a nice place for a long. And likewise, if we were to have a really big move down, then I would also look to pick up some longs from this area here around 2.22, and again swings back to the high. But there will be some other targets, other levels you can look to take profits at. Don't have to look for the complete home run back to the swing high. But yeah, pound is the overall a very bullish market, very consistent with the higher lows on the daily chart, as we can see. So until we see some red flags and see some signs that that's about to change, pretty much still looking for a price to swing back to the high at 2.27 and probably some higher highs as well. But that'll be the plan next week for pound NZD. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen, I'm looking for another bearish swing. It looks like yen strength is coming back into the market. And I am expecting a swing back into support, which is around 101.5. Dropping to the 4-hour chart, you can see prices come back, respected support pretty well. Basically looking for the next lower high. We've had one over there, second over there, potentially a third is forming. I did say potentially CAD Yen might retrace a little bit further, but it looks like momentum's coming in. And if you can see a solid break of this counter trend line, then I think that will be the catalyst to really get the ball rolling. It looks like price is just about pinching the trend line right now, but I'd wait for a strong close if I'm going to take an entry on a breakout. If you're looking for retest, then I'll be looking at the low here, possibly some entries on the lower time frames, really refine that entry and then looking for a swing back down. But yeah, to me, CAD Yen is looking pretty bearish now. Stops above the high would be nice, and targets back at the lows there look pretty good. And also just about tapped into the 0.5 of the fib as well. I was looking to see potentially if we'll come back into the trend line, have a deeper test, maybe tag the 0.618, maybe the 0.786 as well, but looks like momentum is picking up. We've respected the low there at 106 pretty well. So if we can see that break, I'm expecting a push into 101.5 next week. So pretty bearish here for CAD Yen. Keep an eye on the break of that, but looking for a pretty nice swing back into the lows. Okay, so over to pound USD. So still pretty bullish in this pair, but I am still waiting for some retracement. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, it looks like price is pretty much just sideways for the past couple of weeks now. I haven't seen much. We had a lot of momentum on the break to the upside here, and I'm looking for basically the pullback of that and the continuation. But at the moment, it looks like we're forming a bit of a top right now. So expecting a bit of a pullback. If I drop to the daily chart, You can see we've got some lovely highs here, one at 1.28, one at 1.27. So the analysis hasn't really changed since last week. Still looking at price, revisiting these levels, looking for confirmations to swing it back to the high. That's really what I'm interested in for pound USD, just looking to follow that momentum. Like I've been saying, I'm still pretty bearish on the USD as well. So that kind of helps pick my direction for me on pound, and of course the price action too. Of course, this would be the swing high if we do pull back. So naturally, that would be a healthy target to be looking at. But since the market's really flat right now, it doesn't look like we're about to see a continuation. We're still firing a lot of wicks to the upside over here, as we can see. So I do fancy a bit of a sell-off for pound USD. But longer term, I do think we'll find support and push back up again. So keeping a close eye on those areas. But that will be the plan next week for pound USD. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So of course, pound CAD's been very bullish. We created new highs past a swing point we haven't broken through for a while back in 2018. So I do expect us to retrace. If you look at the weekly chart, a lot of wicks there. We had that insanely bullish candle, but no really signs of momentum trying to continue. Just a lot of wicks and small bodied candles. So I do think we're likely to pull back, and we do have a big level here on the daily/weekly chart, which I do think we're likely to come back and retest. It held us sideways for quite a while, really sharp breakout, and price hasn't really come back to test that level since. So I do think we're slowly making our way to that area. Dropping in the 4 hour time frame, we've been putting in a lot of lower highs. One over there, well, that's the original high, then lower high, and I'm anticipating another one forming. A lot of wicks to the upside. We've got that trend line confluence there as well. As long as we maintain this area as resistance, I think that's a really nice place for a short into the swing low. And if you're looking to really stretch the trade, like I said, we've got the daily level just below that at 1.815. But looking at the hourly chart, looks like price is respecting pretty well. So entries in that level look pretty good. Stops above the high, and that looks like a nice swing from an hourly perspective. And if you look to swing the trade further, you've got some levels where you can look to trail stop losses too, or it depends how you want to manage the trade. But I really like the opportunity for pound CAD, just looking for another swing back into support. I do think from a higher time frame perspective, there's reasons we could still head lower, so there is a bit more confidence to the position. But yeah, pound CAD to me is still looking pretty bearish. If pound USD sees a drop, there's a good chance pound CAD will see a move to the downside as well. They're very correlated markets, so keeping an eye on that resistance around 1.857. Some shorts back into 1.84, but then I'll be looking for 1.815 as well. Okay, so over to pound yen. So still very bearish on this one. We've had a really corrective move to the upside. So I do think the market is just pulling back to form a lower high to potentially sell off. We've got these prior bearish structures, one over there, second over there. I'm looking at a third forming in this area. I do think it potentially has already formed with this really strong move on Friday. And I will be actually looking for some entries on the close of this daily candle when it does open up on Sunday. And look to jump in, because if I drop to the lower time frames, we had this really corrective move for pound yen. We broke through resistance here. I think that was on Thursday. Price was looking really bullish, and then we cracked back underneath. And the way I'm looking to interpret that is that the market has had kind of like one more or one last impulse move to the upside, maybe trap some buys up at the high, and now we're selling off aggressively. So we'll be looking for entries. Stop loss wouldn't be particularly great. It probably could have got a better entry there, but I'm not too annoyed at that, because I'm looking at a pretty big swing, at least back to support here at 189. But I am still looking to target the low here, so I probably will look to lock in a lot of gains around 189. But I definitely will be looking to trail, similar to my Aussie CHF position, looking to trail back down to 180. I think we can go even further than that, but I think not going to get too carried away. A push to that low is still a very, very big move from current price. You're still looking at, 1,400 pips there. So very, very big move there for pound yen. I do think it's starting to top out around this area. So looking for some entries. If you're looking to refine an entry, then kind of, if I get rid of this, that's a nice supply zone which kind of tapped into. Looking for price to tap back into this area. That could be a really nice entry in the lower time frame. Stops above the level, doesn't have to be above the high there. Refine the entry and possibly capitalize on the big swing. There's a bit of a counter trend line as well for GJ. You can perhaps even look for entries on the breakout of that as well. Again, would probably wait for another candle to close, perhaps even breaking through support here, just to really make sure that the breakout is in our direction and is likely to continue, not a fake out. We just see price close back above. But that could be a nice opportunity as well. But yeah, keep an eye on 194 for a retest. It looks like pound yen has put its high in. So now looking for a big swing back into 189. Okay, so next up we've got gold. So gold, really nice breakout to the upside this week, taking out the highs. We cleared some support on the lower time frames, and that kind of was the catalyst to really set this move to the upside. I'm looking for more upside. We've got the next big psychological level at 3100. That's kind of where I'm expecting price to get to. We've broken through the high here, so a retest of that level would actually be a nice place for some entries and just continuing that momentum. Gold is just very bullish right now. I wouldn't be looking to take any shorts whatsoever. There will be a time for shorts on gold. You know, it's not like just keep moving in one straight line, but we have to play the game, and at the moment it is very, very, very bullish. So just looking for opportunities to buy some pullbacks. A retest of the high here looks good. We haven't had that retest yet, so it's a fresh level to buy from, which is around 30.58, and then at least a push back into the high, where it forms. But 3100, it looks like price is being drawn to that area there. So more upside for gold. Just looking for a break and retest, finding the higher low, and continuing that momentum. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So it looks like we're starting to see some bearish momentum for this one. I've marked out this trend line. Price has been pretty consistent with it. Successive lower highs, failed to break through it on multiple occasions. Of course, we've cleared that 90k level a while ago. I did say it would be nice for price to come back and test it, but it doesn't look like we're going to see that move, especially with the break of this counter trend line. And now I'm looking for momentum back into that 72, 74k area. Massive resistance here, crazy breakout. Haven't seen a retest of that level since the breakout, so I do think we're slowly being drawn to that. And of course, that momentum there, breaking that counter trend line, is looking pretty bearish for Bitcoin. So yeah, expecting more downside. There might be some nice pullback opportunities on the retest of some lows. So if you're looking for some intraday opportunities for Bitcoin, that's something I'll be looking at. Even look to take the breakout on this candle closure. It probably mean you have a bigger stop loss, maybe above the high, but you probably still get a positive risk reward in that. Let's say entries here, stops above the high. Yeah, you still probably just about get it. I mean, to be honest, that candle hasn't even closed yet, so I would wait for it to close. Still close in 12 hours, but if it can look similar to that, that would be a strong breakout for me. And looking for a big drop there on Bitcoin. So yeah, Bitcoin back to 74, 72k. Keep an eye out for some breaking retest opportunities, but the way I see it, it looks like momentum has picked up, and we probably will at least sell off back into the low here on the left. So yeah, more downside for Bitcoin next week. Okay, so last but not least, we've got a bonus pair, which for this week is CHF JPY. Now, I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to the JPY pairs. I think the sell is coming through. I've had a look at the yen basket. It looks like yen basket is going to see some upside. So it looks like yen strength is coming back into the market, which again is what we need if the yen pairs are going to sell off. And Swiss yen has come back into a nice area. It's just about tapped to the 0.5 of the fib. I've drawn from the swing high here to the swing low. This is the weekly chart, by the way. We've wicked into the 50. We've also just about tapped into some resistance here on the left. Nice rejection over there. Nice rejection over there briefly as well. It looks like we're tapping into that area there too. I was hoping that we could see a slightly deeper move, potentially into the 0.618, potentially into this trend line here as well. But it doesn't look like we're going to see that move. And it looks like we've already seen momentum shift as well. And similar to what we had a look at on pound yen in terms of price forming resistance, breaking to the upside and then pushing right back down very strongly. It looks like we're kind of getting that now for Swiss yen. So again, entries on some counter trend line breaks. We're seeing a lot of these patterns on the yen pairs at the moment, but even a break on that candle I think looks great. Stops above the high. Put your stop loss in a really safe place, and swings back into support look really good. I do think we can go further as well, but this opportunity looks really nice there for Swiss yen. Again, if you're looking to refine your entry, then you're probably waiting for this support level to break and then some retest opportunities on that. That way you can have your stop loss above the level rather than all the way over there. If you're looking to enter on the lower time frames. But yeah, Swiss yen looks really bearish to me. Looks like yen strength coming to the market. as long as we can respect that high, looking for us to roll over, at least back into support. We've tested it on numerous occasions, so I do think price will be drawn back to that area. But yeah, very, very bearish on Swiss yen, looking for a bearish swing next week. And that, guys, does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads or streams in the future. Comment down below any pairs you're looking to trade, analyze, interested in next week. I do want to find out. Make sure you do check out the link to the Elevating Traders Discord channel. Free to join, chat with other traders, join the community, chat with myself. I share ideas there, so if you want updates, make sure you're in the Discord. But guys, appreciate you tuning in to the video. Hope you found it useful. Have a great day, great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.